If you're sick or hurt and you call 911, you want someone there quickly.
Well, budget cuts are making it more difficult to staff departments and keep up with demand.
Well, one Wisconsin village has a new way to get the most qualified person to every call. The I-Team's Casey Geraldo is here to explain. Casey?
George and Carol, in Palmyra, Wisconsin, a firefighter is a police officer, is an EMT. They're hiring people to be public safety officers and be able to do any job.
In a village of about 1,800 people, emergencies don't happen often. But when they do, the expectation is the same.
When you're in that situation, you want them there, yesterday.
Like this plane crash. 2 people were hurt in Palmyra when a small plane went down.
Oh my God, what's going to happen?
James Small is the police chief and the fire chief and an EMT who rode with one of the men in the crash. He says what happened was an example of Palmyra's unique public safety system at work.
We can put somebody on scene faster.
Somebody like Ariand Liu. We first met him when he left this scene as a firefighter, returning as a police officer.
I never thought going to school to be a police officer that I'd become a firefighter.
The department has relied heavily on volunteers, but this change allows them to bring in more paid staff members like Liu. That's why they're paying him to get EMT training too.
Anywhere that has a volunteer-based program, everybody's hurting.
In 2015, the National Fire Protection Association estimated 70% of firefighters were volunteers. Across the nation, in places like Palmyra, that means sometimes nobody is there to pull out a rig when an emergency happens.
We're able to keep our ambulance in service. We're able to get a fire engine on scene quickly and have enough staff to do that.
Doing that, of course, comes with a cost. The 2018 budget for the department is about $630,000. That's up from $441,000 in 2017. Part of that includes training for staff and new full-time positions. The village president says even as this model raises costs a bit, it meets a demand from people living in Palmyra.
The staffing had been understaffed, and what were we going to do about it and how could we fix that?
This new style isn't just about having the most hands available. Small considers it a more holistic way of looking at public safety.
People who are trained in EMS are trained to think about outcomes. They're trained to think about long-term strategies more so than, hey, I took the report, it's done, and now we're on to the next thing.
Small says that mindset has reduced crime in Palmyra. His reports show criminal offenses are down 32% from 2013 to 2017, and thefts are down 59% in the same amount of time. Small feels that's because officers treat crime like a symptom of a problem and work with people in Palmyra to fix the issues driving them to commit crime. There are still limits, though, to the public safety model.
You just hope that they're not spread too thin.
So does that delay your response? Should there be 2 incidents going on at once?
There will be.
Small says Ashwaubenon is the only other location using this model in Wisconsin. He says other small cities around the country are starting to look at public safety departments as an option since budgets are just shrinking.
Yeah, now Casey, Milwaukee just announced the closing of 6 local fire stations. Could this option be used for those types of places?
It's a question that we had when we were doing the story, and Small says bigger communities have too high a call volume to justify doing this. He says Palmyra can pull it off because they get about 200 fire calls a year and about 1,500 police calls a year. He says as those numbers go up, communities really do need to have separate agencies to be able to handle it all.
Makes sense. Okay, Casey, thank you for that enlightening report.